We're all familiar with the idea that a big circle of friends equals a happy, successful life. It's a narrative woven into the very fabric of our culture. We see it everywhere. Laughing groups in commercials selling everything from soda to cars, sprawling parties in movies and TV shows, and social media feeds that are just an endless, curated scroll of shared moments and group selfies. The message is so constant, so pervasive, that it's easy to internalize the belief that a life lived in solitude, a life with few or no friends, must be one of sadness, failure, and something fundamentally broken. But what if that's not the whole story? What if that cultural script is a vast oversimplification of the human experience? What if the people who navigate life on their own aren't socially awkward outcasts, but are simply wired differently, operating on a deeper, more complex frequency? What if their solitude isn't about what they're missing, but a powerful indicator of the richness they possess within? Today, we're exploring the hidden psychology of people who have no friends. You might be surprised and perhaps even relieved to learn that it's often a sign of a deep, thoughtful, and highly intelligent mind. We're going to look past the surface-level judgments and the stigma of the empty chair to uncover the complex, often profound reasons that lead some people down a more solitary path. Stick around, because what we're about to discuss might just change how you see solitude and yourself forever. First, we need to draw a crucial distinction, because this is where society gets it most wrong. There's a vast, critical difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is a painful, involuntary feeling of being isolated. It's a distressing ache, a craving for connection that isn't being met. It's a genuinely debilitating experience linked to serious health risks, like chronic stress, depression, anxiety, and even a higher risk of premature death. The pain of feeling alone when you desperately don't want to be is real, and it's a silent, devastating battle for many. This, however, is about something else entirely. It's about the people who, either by deliberate choice or as a natural consequence of their personality, have a very small or non-existent circle of friends. Their state is often one of solitude, a chosen or accepted state of being alone that can feel peaceful, restorative, and profoundly full of self-discovery. It's the difference between an empty room you're locked in and an empty room you've chosen to enter to think, create, or simply be. Society often conflates these two, casting a shadow of pity on anyone who spends a lot of time alone, assuming their solitude must be a mask for hidden loneliness. But the psychology of a person with no friends is far more nuanced than a simple story of sadness. It's a complex tapestry woven from threads of high intelligence, deeply held values, the echoes of past experiences, and a uniquely perceptive way of seeing the world. To really understand, we have to look past the empty chairs at the table and into the intricate, fascinating mind of the person sitting by themselves. Let's explore 5 deep psychological traits that often define these individuals and reframe what society sometimes labels as a weakness into what can be, and often is, an incredible and misunderstood strength. One of the most common and defining traits of people with few friends is a deep-seated intolerance for anything superficial. Think about the bulk of day-to-day social interactions. The small talk about the weather, the polite but meaningless questions about the weekend, office gossip, or discussing celebrities you'll never meet. For most, these interactions are the social glue, the very foundation of connection. They're light, easy, and don't ask much of us. But for a certain type of person, these conversations feel like an exhausting, soul-draining performance. They feel hollow, inauthentic, and frankly, a waste of precious mental and emotional energy. These individuals don't just dislike small talk. They are almost psychologically repelled by it. This isn't born from arrogance or a feeling of superiority. It's about their fundamental cognitive wiring. Their minds are built for depth, meaning, and complexity. Forcing them into superficial chatter is like trying to run a complex physics simulation on a four-function calculator. It's not just inefficient, it's deeply, existentially unsatisfying. These are often the deep thinkers, the introspective souls, the people who would rather spend an hour discussing the nature of consciousness, the nuances of a moral dilemma, or the hidden beauty in a piece of art than spend 10 minutes on pleasantries. They crave conversations that unpack ideas, explore genuine emotions, and build real substantive bonds. They value quality over quantity to an extreme, seeking connections built on mutual understanding, intellectual respect, and unflinching emotional honesty. The problem, of course, is that connections like that are exceptionally rare. They require a level of vulnerability, self-awareness, and intellectual curiosity that many people just aren't willing or able to give in a world that often encourages curated perfection and shallow transactional interactions. Finding what the philosopher Aristotle called a single soul dwelling in two bodies, a true friendship of virtue, can feel like searching for a diamond in a mountain of gravel. So, when faced with a choice between draining their finite energy in a sea of superficial social events or preserving it in restorative solitude, these individuals will almost always choose solitude. It's not that they hate people, they hate the masks. They hate the social scripts that demand politeness over truth and performance over presence. Their lack of friends isn't a social failure, but a testament to their powerful, unwavering commitment to authenticity. They would rather have no one at all than an entourage of shallow acquaintances who know their name but not their soul. While that stance can be profoundly isolating at times, the alternative, a life filled with meaningless interactions, feels like a far greater and more burdensome prison. A second reason, one which might seem counterintuitive at first, is backed by fascinating research. Highly intelligent people often have fewer friends, and they're perfectly happy that way. A landmark 2016 study published in the British Journal of Psychology uncovered something remarkable. For most people, frequent social interaction with friends is a huge predictor of happiness. But for those with higher IQs, this effect was much weaker, and in some cases, it was even reversed. In other words, while socializing tends to make most people happier, highly intelligent individuals can actually feel less satisfied with life if they socialize more frequently. So, why would this be? The researchers offered a compelling explanation rooted in evolutionary psychology called the Savannah theory of happiness. The theory suggests that our brains and social instincts are still largely adapted to the environment of our hunter-gatherer ancestors, who lived in small, tightly knit tribes of around 150 people. In that world, constant social contact and cooperation were not just for fun. They were essential for survival, resource sharing, and collective defense. For most of us, those ancient social instincts still ring true. We feel happier, safer, and more fulfilled when we're deeply connected to our tribe. But the researchers theorize that people with higher general intelligence might be better equipped to adapt to the modern world and its novel challenges. They may be more capable of solving complex problems and achieving their goals without needing the constant support and input of a close-knit social network. Their intelligence allows them to override the ancient programming that equates constant social contact with well-being. On top of this, highly intelligent people are often intensely focused on long-term, ambitious goals. Whether it's a scientist working to solve a complex theoretical problem, an artist creating a masterpiece, a writer crafting a novel, or an entrepreneur building a company from scratch. These pursuits demand immense focus, dedication, and, most importantly, time. For them, socializing isn't always a fun or relaxing break. It can feel like a significant distraction from the work that gives their life its core purpose and meaning. The quick, fleeting satisfaction of a party or a casual get-together simply doesn't compare to the deep, enduring fulfillment they get from making progress on their life's work. This doesn't mean they're cold or emotionless robots. When they do form friendships, they are often incredibly deep and powerful, based on shared intellectual passions, mutual respect, and a true synergy of minds. But because their standards are so high and their time is so precious, they are extremely selective. They simply have less patience and energy for relationships that don't enrich them intellectually or emotionally. Their small social circle isn't a sign of loneliness, but a sign of intense focus. It's a conscious choice to invest their limited energy in a few high-quality connections and the ambitious goals that set their soul on fire. The third trait is a powerful and cultivated sense of emotional self-reliance. From a very young age, most of us learn to look outward for comfort, validation, and regulation. We rely on friends to cheer us up when we're down, partners to complete us, and social groups to give us a sense of identity and belonging. While this is a normal part of the human experience, some people cultivate their inner world so deeply that they become their own primary source of emotional support. These are people who have truly, and often through great effort, learned to be their own best friend. They don't have the knee-jerk reaction to call someone when they feel sad, anxious, or confused. They have developed a robust set of internal tools to process their own emotions. They can sit with their discomfort without panicking, analyze their feelings with curiosity, and find clarity and solutions from within. They become masters of self-soothing, using practices like journaling to untangle their thoughts, meditation to quiet the internal noise, or simply taking long reflective walks to gain perspective. This is a core tenet in philosophies like Stoicism, which teaches that true contentment comes from the inside and shouldn't be dependent on external factors, including the approval or presence of other people. This emotional self-sufficiency can easily be mistaken for aloofness or coldness. Others might see them as not needing anyone, and in a way, they are right. People with this trait don't need friends in the same desperate, validating way that many others do. Their happiness and sense of self-worth are not tethered to social approval or constant interaction. They've built a strong internal foundation, a psychological home base, so they don't have the same fear of being alone that drives many people to seek constant company, even if that company is unfulfilling. Interestingly, this trait often develops in people who are naturally kind, empathetic, and responsible. For years, they may have been the strong one in their social circles, the patient listener, the reliable problem solver, the emotional rock for everyone else. They are the person everyone calls in a crisis. Over time, however, they can get stuck in a web of one-sided relationships where they give far more emotional energy than they receive. Drained by this profound imbalance, they may eventually retreat inward, having learned the hard lesson that the only person they can consistently depend on is themselves. This retreat isn't a sign of bitterness, but of wisdom born from experience. It's a protective mechanism. They've learned that outsourcing their emotional well-being is a risky and often disappointing strategy. By becoming emotionally self-reliant, they protect themselves from the inevitable letdown that can come from depending on others who may be unable or unwilling to show up for them. Their solitude isn't an empty space, but a well-tended inner garden, a source of strength and peace. They are alone, but rarely lonely, because they are in the best of company, their own. The fourth psychological reason is something that's often completely invisible to outsiders: high sensitivity. The term highly sensitive person, HSP, coined and researched by psychologist Dr. Elaine Aron, describes an individual with an innate trait called sensory processing sensitivity. This is not a disorder or a flaw. It's a biological variation found in roughly 20 to 30% of the population. HSPs have nervous systems that are wired to process physical, emotional, and social information much more deeply and thoroughly than others. On a practical level, this means they pick up on subtleties that others completely miss. A tiny, fleeting micro-expression on a friend's face, a subtle shift in the tone of voice, or the overall emotional mood of a room. While this can be a superpower, leading to incredible empathy, intuition, and creativity, it also comes with a significant challenge. HSPs get overstimulated very, very easily. A social gathering that feels fun, vibrant, and energizing to most people can feel like a full-blown sensory assault to an HSP. Imagine walking into a party and not just hearing the music, but feeling the bass vibrate deep in your chest. Not just seeing the crowd, but noticing every single social interaction happening at once. Not just hearing conversations, but intuitively absorbing the anxiety from one person, the arrogance from another, and the sadness from a third. Their brain processes all of this incoming data with such intensity that it can quickly lead to cognitive overload and complete exhaustion. For an HSP, socializing isn't a casual, low-stakes activity. It's an intense, data-heavy event that consumes enormous amounts of energy. After a party, a networking event, or even just a long one-on-one conversation, they often need a significant amount of quiet downtime to decompress and recharge their batteries. This fundamental biological need for alone time is often misunderstood by friends and family, who might perceive it as disinterest, rudeness, or a personal rejection. Because they process everything so deeply, HSPs also crave authentic, meaningful connections and are especially repelled by superficiality. Furthermore, their heightened empathy means they can suffer from empathy overload, where they absorb the emotional burdens and stress of others to a draining, sometimes debilitating degree. To protect their sensitive systems from constant overstimulation and exhaustion, HSPs naturally gravitate toward a quieter life with fewer, more manageable social demands. They will almost always choose quality over quantity, preferring one or two deep, calm friendships over a large, chaotic circle of acquaintances. Their lack of a large friend group isn't about their social skills. In fact, their keen attunement to social and emotional cues can make them exceptionally good friends. Instead, their solitude is a necessary and intelligent act of self-preservation. It's a conscious strategy to manage their energy and protect their mental and physical well-being in a world that is often too loud, too fast, and too overwhelming for the profound depth of their perception. The fifth trait is perhaps the most profound and hopeful. A lack of friends can be a clear sign that a person is in a period of intense personal growth or healing. Life isn't static. We are not fixed entities. We are constantly changing, evolving, and, if we're lucky, growing into new and better versions of ourselves. During these powerful periods of transformation, our social lives often change just as dramatically. Think of it like a personal evolution, a snake shedding its skin. The person you were 5 years ago had friends that fit that version of you. Your interests, your values, your level of self-awareness. But as you read new books, develop new passions, heal from old wounds, and raise your standards for yourself and others, you start to operate on a different frequency. The conversations that once felt interesting may now seem trivial. The activities you once enjoyed together may no longer align with your core values. A gap, slowly or sometimes suddenly, begins to form. This is a natural, though often painful and lonely, part of growth. As you evolve, you may find you have less and less in common with the people who once made up your entire social world. It's not about feeling that you are better than them. It's simply that you're on different paths, and those paths have diverged. Trying to hold on to friendships that no longer fit the person you're becoming can hold you back, create deep internal conflict, and feel profoundly inauthentic. For many, this process of shedding friendships is gradual, but for those going through a rapid transformation, perhaps sparked by a life crisis, a spiritual awakening, or intensive therapy, it can result in a period of near total social isolation. This period of friendlessness isn't the final destination. It's a chrysalis. It's a necessary, sacred, in-between stage. The old social self has dissolved, and the new one hasn't yet had the time or opportunity to attract its new tribe. In this light, having no friends isn't a sign of being stuck. On the contrary, it's a sign of being in powerful motion. It shows that you're actively evolving, healing, and courageously refusing to settle for relationships that don't align with the person you are becoming. This period of solitude is fertile ground. It's where you rediscover yourself and build the inner strength required to eventually attract relationships that are a true and beautiful reflection of the person you've worked so hard to become. We've looked at some of the deep psychological currents that can lead a person to have few or no friends. We've seen that what society so often dismisses as a social flaw or a personal failure can actually be a sign of profound authenticity, high intelligence, emotional self-reliance, heightened sensitivity, and courageous personal growth. For many of you watching, this might be your reality. You may have felt misunderstood, judged, or even ashamed because your life doesn't fit the popular social script that equates a full calendar with a full life. That's where our community comes in. If any of this resonated with you, if you've ever felt the quiet strength in your solitude or felt alienated for valuing depth over breadth, share your story in the comments below. You don't have to go into personal detail. You can simply write, "I understand," or "This is my story," to let others know they are seen and understood. By sharing our experiences, we can help dismantle the stigma around solitude and reinforce the truth that there is no single right way to live a happy and meaningful life. Your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. You are not alone in your solitude. In a world that incessantly celebrates the crowd, it takes immense courage to walk a quieter path. The pressure to be constantly connected, always on, and perpetually social can make anyone who deviates from that norm feel like they are failing at a fundamental aspect of being human. But the psychology of the person with no friends tells a very different, more complex, and far more empowering story. It tells a story of someone who refuses to trade their authenticity for social acceptance. It speaks of a brilliant mind intensely focused on pursuing ambitious goals that require deep work. It reveals a resilient soul that has cultivated a rich and sustaining inner world, becoming its own source of comfort and strength. And it points to a brave spirit in the middle of a profound transformation, letting go of an old life to make way for a new one. Of course, this is not about romanticizing unwanted loneliness, which is and always will be a source of real pain and suffering. As the Stoics remind us, humans are social creatures by nature, and meaningful connection is an important component of a good life. But they also teach us the immense value and strength that come from being truly comfortable in our own company. Ultimately, the value of a life isn't measured by the number of names in our phone contacts or the size of our birthday parties. It's measured by its depth, its authenticity, its integrity, and its alignment with our true self. If you are one of these people walking a more solitary road, know this: your solitude is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It may very well be the mark of a deep, thoughtful, and evolving mind. Embrace your path, for it is often in the quiet, seemingly empty spaces, away from the noise of the crowd, that we find our greatest strengths and our truest selves.